Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson. Blending survival, fiction, and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Chapter 32. The mood lightened as people split up to attend to their assigned tasks. A cooking station was set up while the injured people were organized in the strip mall. The contents of the stores had been removed months before, and they could do little more than provide them a place to rest. "We don't have enough supplies to treat them all," Dr. Kozlowskis fretted, running his hand through his gray hair. "There are some serious injuries here. Abdominal wounds, a fractured skull, and a severed Achilles tendon, not to mention the multitude of fractures. All we can do is try to secure more supplies," Cole replied, concerned for the safety of these people. "Maybe we should make one of the transports into a medical transport so we can move some of the patients now," the doctor suggested. "We can make that happen, and we can still use it to haul supplies on the way back," Cole agreed. The sound of a man crying out in pain echoed through the building. Dr. Kozlowskis turned his head attentively. "I have to go." "I'll check back in a couple hours," Cole assured him. He couldn't wait to escape the smell of the building. The festering wound smelled rancid and only added to the urgency of getting these people to help. Breathing deeply in the fresh air, he watched Chappie follow him out the door. "Virgis, how can you make him all those promises?" Chappie wondered. Cole looked at him confused. "What are you talking about, Chappie?" "The soldiers at that camp aren't going to give us more supplies. We were just there." "They'll know we're helping refugees," Chappie reminded him. Cole was quiet for a moment, pondering the implications of his statement. "We would have red flagged a group like us for sure. Then we would have followed them back to where they were taking the supplies and rounded up the refugees," Chappie continued. "Most of these people would be better off there anyway," Cole mused. Chappie looked at him very seriously. "What the hell are we doing here, sir?" "We're trying to help save this community," Cole answered passionately. "If you think they would be better off in the camp, why aren't we doing our job? We were helping people, and we helped a lot of communities get back on their feet without the threat of chaos breaking out at any time," Chappie explained. Cole was quiet for a long time as he sat on a chair in a common area. "Aren't you going to say anything?" Chappie wondered. Cole was frustrated by the logic of Chappie's explanation and snapped back. "I need time to think, Chappie." "Whatever," Chappie said, turning to leave. "Chappie," Cole declared to catch the man's attention. Chappie turned back to look at him. "You make a good point." Chappie left with a satisfied look, headed to help where he could. Cole stared at Monroe and Ginger cooking with a handful of others in the makeshift kitchen area. Whenever they got the opportunity, they gently rubbed against one another and looked at each other flirtatiously. Cole smiled at their interaction, but inside he was a little jealous. He had shared many a lonely night in Ginger's arms, but Monroe had stolen her heart. The noise of the crowd stirring drew his attention. He stood up, curious about what was going on. As he approached, he heard yelling. "My relationship with my woman is none of your business," Peter yelled. "It sure the hell is when you lay your hands on a woman," Rydell insisted. "She knows what she did," Peter countered. "Nothing deserves that," Rydell replied, grabbing the man by the scruff of his neck. "Come on then, asshole," Peter yelled. Cole listened to footsteps approaching and saw Chappie at his side. The two men weaved through the crowd, thickly stacking in a circle around the two fighting men. Cole saw Barbara standing sheepishly off to the side. Her face was bruised and tears streamed down it. "I got Rydell," Chappie told Cole quietly. "I'll take Peter," Cole replied. Chappie circled around behind Rydell as the fight intensified. Rydell was gaining the upper hand and Peter drew a knife. "Hold on there, cowboy," Cole told him, grabbing him in a necklock from behind and controlling the knife hand. He quickly pulled the man back through the crowd. Peter squirmed, but Cole was trained to counter his attempts to free himself. Taking him to the edge of the camp, Cole released him, stripping the knife out of his hand and throwing him to the dirt. "I'm going to kill that little punk," Peter insisted, getting back up to re-enter the crowd. Cole stopped his advance, insisting, "No, you're going to calm down, or I'll make you calm down." "This is bullshit," Peter exclaimed. "My woman is none of his business." "We're all on edge. Taking it out on your wife is not what you need to be doing," Cole told him. "And how is it any of your business?" Peter wondered. "When it disrupts the tranquility of this camp, it becomes my business," Cole assured him. "You're leading these people, and you have an injured daughter lying in there. I'm sure you can set a better example than that." Peter seemed to calm, thinking on Virgis's words. "I just don't know what to do." No one ever knew this shit would happen. Peter's emotions overwhelmed him, and tears filled his eyes. "I know, buddy," Cole agreed. "It hasn't been easy for any of us. The only thing we have control over is how we act. Each moment will test our resolve to be unbreakable." He said the words to convince Peter, but slowly realized he needed to hear that as badly as Peter did. The two men looked at one another with understanding as the dinner bell sounded in the distance. It was a long night, but everyone had full bellies. Bonfires burned, and smiles adorned many faces. As Cole walked through the group, he marveled at what could be done when people worked together. Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 430, season 15, episode 32. Hey, Tim, what's up?
Chin's up. I am barely.
You're whooped, man. Country living has beat you down this weekend.
I have had so many hats on this weekend, from home builder to road maintenance to hog harvesting.
Welcome to the country.
Man, it feels good to sit down in a chair and podcast.
Yeah.
This has been the easiest so far.
It's cold. It's even like we have to keep turning our heater down. Our heater, it's very apropos, but the heaters here in Texas, once it's like, because it's a heat pump, once it gets below a certain temperature, the heater doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, how does that even make sense?
Yeah.
So, we would have to kick it to backup heating, so we're slowly just getting colder and colder in the house now.
It's so cold you have to wear your plaid PJs outside in Texas.
Oh, no. Yeah, we won't mention the plaid PJs. I was like, oops. So,
little inside joke.
Inside, a little inside joke. But,
or outside joke.
Yeah, inside, outside joke. But yeah, it is cold across the United States. So we have some great Changing Earth news today. Obviously, stuff's been going on around the planet even. So we're going to have an action-packed filled time with that. Quick catch-up news. Oh, I got a lot of new listeners coming in. And I just want to... Right, I know. Across the globe, which is cool. I just want to give everybody the heads up. If you want to listen to my audiobooks from beginning to end, if you head over to my website and become a member, you get access to the archives. And we've been podcasting. Well, I've been podcasting since 2016. So there is hours and hours of material, which all correlates with my books. You can hear the chapter and then hear the survival lesson. So if you want the full experience, go on over, become a member, and then you get access to the archives. You can check all that content out. It's a pantheon.
Great interviews and subject matter experts and everything.
Yeah. When I was first starting out on this world, it was like, let's just jam as much info as we can. So many just awesome hour-long interviews with spectacular professionals from across the globe on survival content.
Yep.
So good stuff. So that's ChangingEarthSeries.com. Head on over there, check that out. Everything that you would want to know about Sarah and on the Changing Earth series is all over at ChangingEarthSeries.com. Oh, I just spoke about myself in the third person. That was horrible.
That's Sarah.
I think I threw up in my mouth a little when I did that. All right. We got the Patriot. Speaking of Sarah, we got the Patriot Conference coming up in Illinois in April. Hopefully, it's going to be a lot warmer by then because this is too cold for me. That's for sure. And of course, prepper camp tickets. Get them now.
But yeah, the longer you wait, the more they cost.
Right? Get them now and get your spot reserved. Know where you're going to stay. Don't forget that like prepper camp tickets is just for the event. Then you got to figure out where you're going to stay.
Yep.
Best case scenario is Orchard Lake Campgrounds. Then you can go from there. All right. Chapter 32 of Virgis. We got a lot of sick and hurt refugees.
Yeah, I had to step outside, get a breath of fresh air.
Right? From the pussy infected. Yeah.
Nasty.
Gross. So you know that would be legit. It's a really scary proposition to have an injury. We're so pampered, not only by our Western medicine, our access to really good healthcare, but also because we have really good hygiene, you know? So if you don't have really good hygiene and you have those injuries, it can become a serious problem really, really fast. Something simple can become a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't get supplies from the government resources anymore. And this really highlights, something that started for good can always turn evil. So it makes sense that you would want to gather everybody who's kind of in need to the same place so that you can assist everybody at once. But in like a long-term survival situation, I mean, we can look at just what happened in the Superdome during Katrina. It's like long-term, you start pushing that into a long-term basis where you have all these people gathered and food starts getting short, that kind of thing. You're going to have a problem. Yeah. Talk about no hygiene and stuff like that, too. So, it just really highlights how quickly something like that would make sense, too, to do something like that. But then, as those problems start to push on, you got the larger populations, and when you need labor, well, guess what? You got a ready labor source right there at the camps. So it could be very interesting. I usually don't share the quote that I take out of this chapter, but I really love this one. The only thing we have control over is how we act. Each moment will test our resolve to be unbreakable.
Sarah, that is the one thing I highlighted out of this chapter.
Right?
When I was reading prep for the show, I used to go through and scribble some notes and stuff. That is the only thing that I highlighted.
Right? Yeah, that's the one I picked out too. I was like, that is just a great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just talking to Fletcher yesterday about current events, and not letting hatred in our hearts jade us against any group of people or anything like that, because the minute you start like grouping people together, now you're the us and them mentality, and that's such a dangerous slippery slope, and just that's not what Jesus would want us to do. That doesn't exemplify God's word. That's exactly what we're not supposed to do. And so I was talking to him about, the dangers of doing that. And so to have that quote then today on top of it, those moments are coming. They're going to test us. I really believe that. So get ready.
Yeah.
The only thing we have control over is how we act. All right. So let's talk festering wounds. The ooey, gooey, grody, pussy. We used to cut them off of people, literally, like in the Civil War and that. Like
gangrene.
Yeah, you got gangrene. It's like, all right, you're losing a limb. Which, for those of you who don't know, you can't just cut off the limb. You actually have to like tie off veins and stuff. I did an article on that with Dr. Bones. And if you guys want more information, because it's going to be a quick, like, you could go into infections forever. There's so much in this topic. But I've got lots of great articles over on Change Earth series, go into the learning. I can't even remember what I call it now. The learning tab, and then go to what's that?
You could search through that and find the topic that you're interested in.
Yeah, it's pretty easy because I have it tabbed out. There's just so much content there. I'll jump over there real quick and check it out. Okay, so you go to the Learn tab, and then if you go, and there's good stuff on my blog too, but the survival guide, if you go into the survival guide and you click on medicine, really great articles in there. All of that is coming from doctors that I had on the show and whatnot. Yeah. So, good information.
Interviews with people, all kinds of people.
Yeah. Really great. So many wonderful doctors in this field. And of course, I'm going to lean back to doomandbloom.net because they just been a friend of the show for a long time. Dr. Bones is in my book, you know.
Right?
Yeah. So, and he's a super guy. Always wanted to be a villainous character. So we brought it to reality for him. So antibiotics are kind of what? Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Swenson brought him along for the ride.
Yeah. Found him at like the very start.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And that was a cool weave as well. How to do that.
Fun.
Yeah, with finding the different water sources. So yeah, antibiotics were kind of our key to conquering infections, if you can say conquering, because the infections have definitely even outsmarted us. There's a staphylococcus that is immune to antibacterials. It used to be only in like hospital settings, but now it is out in the general populace. So, the infections keep trying to outsmart us, and we keep trying to outsmart them. But antibiotics did a lot for human ability to recover from these infections without having to cut that area off of you, which is a good thing. One of the articles you should key in on over at the medical area is identifying and treating infections. That was Dr. Bones came on. That's a great article. And one of the things that Dr. Bones taught me that I deploy, which is really good, is if you have an injury, outline it with a pen. And then you can see, is it growing or not? Like, is that redness getting worse or not? Sometimes it's just good to have that benchmark.
Yeah, just watching it yourself.
Yeah. And you can be like, did it really grow? I don't know.
It's like seeing your puppy or your child every day after day after day. And then a friend comes over a month later and it's like, holy smokes, is that growing?
Right? Exactly. So we
just look at it. At a wound, you might not notice the changes.
That's true. That's true. And I've been there before where I was like, oh, I didn't even notice that happening. That's just yeah. Like, wow. Okay. So that method does work. You can just outline a pen. The pen's going to wash off eventually. Don't worry about that. Swelling in the area is a very bad sign. Warmth, it gets warm compared to other areas. Out of proportion pain. So, like, if it's a cut on your finger and it's starting to radiate into your wrist and, like, just be so painful, it's not even funny, there's a good chance it's probably developing an infection in there. And then, of course, the odorous, like, milky fluid or pus. Yeah. Have you ever had a cat, like, they get the abscesses from, like, fighting with other cats? Have you ever? Oh.
No,
I had one that was like a little just tigress, and she was always out. And I was spending so much money at the vet. And so the vet just taught me how to like lance it myself and put a drain tube in there and everything. And those abscesses are nasty, dude. Like, she busted one open all over the kitchen. It was gross. Yeah. So, yeah. Hopefully nobody's eating dinner while they're listening to the show tonight. And then just general lack of healing. So discoloration of the edges, but just lack of healing. It's not really healing. It's not really healing. Then there's a problem. It should be healing. Your body should be taking care of that.
You should know your basic healing rate. I mean, if you get a paper cut or something, you kind of know how fast you heal.
Right.
I mean, over time, you kind of have a feeling for, it takes a couple days. I start seeing it closing. So if it's not falling into your normal healing rate,
there could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Lisa Goodwin, the Dale and Lisa are the survivalist preppers. Yeah. And she does like wound healing. That's her like deal, is dealing with long-term wounds. So if you want information on that, like go pick her brain. She's spectacular to talk to, awesome lady. But that happens. There's a problem, especially with like complications with like diabetes and things like that. You can have sores and whatnot that just aren't healing. Whole different situation when we're in a survival situation and you have an open wound that is not healing, because that infection can go into your bone marrow, and then eventually it can attack into your blood system, and you can get sepsis and you can die. Like, that's it, you know. That's a game over. So this is not a moment where we're rubbing a little dirt into it to get better. No.
Dale's her husband's form of treatment.
Yeah. He's like, Brock's the same way. I'll just rub a little dirt in it. It'll be fine. Like, no, not in this case. Another cool article that's up on my survival medicine area is lacerated muscles and ligaments, and what to do when something horrible like that happens. That picture for that article is actually my friend Anthony. He was cut open across the whole top of his knee, and it is just disgusting. And yeah, you have to like literally sew those muscles back together and then go from there. So this is why it's essential to have a doctor, you know, in your group, or a nurse, or somebody who knows something about what they're doing. You know, I don't want my husband to be like sewing my muscles back together. Oh, that should do it, you know. So that's also a really good article about severe injuries like that and what to do when you have severe injuries. So first things first, don't let it get infected, right? Like,
which is probably going to be one of the hardest things.
Yes.
You're not going to be in pristine, clean environments.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to just like,
well, like your daily shower.
Yeah, and you know, not work or not being involved in activities, you know.
Yep. You got to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, my husband calls gloves witch with a capital B mittens. But you know what? Like, I put them on. I'm so like accident prone.
I have a pair of leather gloves that I just wear constantly, because if I don't, I mean, not constantly, but when I'm out like working outside,
yep.
If I don't, undoubtedly something's gonna cut me. Me. I mean,
yep, that's me in a nutshell. I don't know. His hands are like super, but yeah, I'm the same way. So I'm all for like putting on something that's going to protect your skin. Why not have that first layer of protection? Okay, but you get a cut, so flush it with 60 to 100 cc's of water. So they used to say like use iodine or something like that, but they're coming to understand that just sterilized drinkable water is best for it. So this is where you probably want to like distill some water or something like that. This is coming from Dr. Bones as well, from my blogs, but also his book. Oh my gosh, I should have it on the tip of my little tongue. But oh my gosh,
I've got the side of the. I can't.
I know. I'm blanking out. It's too cold today.
Yeah, he even gave me the updated version last time he was on the show.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll have it in a minute. Well, I'll just bust into one of these articles. Because Dr. Bones has been on my show so many times to talk to us about all the medical implications of what's going to happen. And he actually gives you answers about, how to treat it long term, not just like go get help. Well, what if you can't go get help? So that's why I love it. And his website, doomandbloom.net, guys, there is so much information there. Like if you have anything medically, go there. Plus his book, The Survival Medicine Handbook, phenomenal. I use it all the time. Like whenever we have something going on, he's basically like my Western medical resource. And then Nicole is my herbal medicine resource.
Yep.
Yeah.
Her book is ridiculous. It's an encyclopedia.
So good. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Okay. So you're always flushing this wound. Especially like if it's a bite, anything, it has any kind of fabric in it, it has anything in there, you want to pick that out. It really sucks. It hurts. But you got to get that out of there. And then flush it. Every time you change the bandage, you want to flush it. You want to change the bandage about once or twice a day. That means we need to be stocked up on bandages.
Right.
Right. That's a lot of dressings. I was like doing the calculations in my head. And Dr. Bones is always like, yeah, spill a can of Coke and see how much, material it takes you to wipe that up. And that's basically, some of the wounds. That's what you're looking at as far as like blood loss and stuff.
Wound on one person.
Right. Exactly. Now, what if you're taking care of 8 people, something like that? So there's just not a cause when you shouldn't be getting dressings. And even if maybe, they're older or whatever, put them in Ziploc bags. Try to keep them as sterile as possible. But anything is going to be better than nothing.
Right.
And then after that, a lot of times they'll put on, he was saying you can wet the bandage down to, sometimes the bandage sticks, right? And
right.
You
go to change it? Oh, I know. I dread that.
Yes. And you don't want to like peel off the good stuff that's, So you can actually moisten the bandage with the saline water or like iodine on the bandage just to get it moistened and moving, and then take that off, change it up.
Oh, that's the worst.
I know. You're like, oh man, it was healing, but you can't have it heal directly to your bandage. So yeah, problem. So of course, triple antibiotic cream is always suggested. However, if you listen to Lisa, she hates.
Oh, that's why Neosporin. That was get her.
She's
her
like,
goat. She would have smacked me.
Yeah, yep. Every time. She's like, oh no, Neosporin. I mean, you want to piss Lisa off real quick, just be like, Neosporin. She's like the water boy of Neosporin.
It's like silver or something, right?
Silvazorb, but it's just silver gel, right? There's lots of different kinds. She really likes the Silvazorb, though.
There's a kind of honey too, right? There's a
right. That's I got honey when we get into the natural stuff. But if you're thinking of things like what can I stock up on medically now that we're really going to need, the silver gel, the dressings. And then hygiene is key. So you got to know how to make soap. You got to have it stocked. It's so important to a healthy society is hygiene. Once it becomes infected, it is really difficult to get rid of without antibiotics. I always think of, have you seen the movie Gladius with Russell Crowe? He's like a gladiator. Or Gladiator. It's called Gladiator with Russell Crowe.
Gladiator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got like that laceration on his arm and the dude like puts the maggots in there.
Yeah.
Oh, so nasty. Oh, gosh.
That's a thing.
I know it's a thing. And I believe it too because that's what they do. But, oh, God, come on. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Disgusting. I mean, I guess I could be that, I could be there one day. Oh, it's not that it's out of my realm of possibilities of doing. It's just, man, I'm glad we got antibiotics instead. So
I could hear Sergeant Bennett. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, suck it up, Buttercup. Do you want to live to fight one more day or what?
Leech.
There's 2 companies now that have the antibiotics though in the packs. Jace Case is great. I've been really happy with my experience with them. So I'm just going to still stand behind Jay's case just because I have more, I have experience with their product. And those bottles that you get of the antibiotics, they're filled to the brim. You know, you're going to use them for a couple injuries here and there. I mean, it's not, you're going to still have a supply beyond what you need in a one-time usage. It's going to be again and again and again and again you can use them. So I do stand behind them. They also have the ivermectin or whatever available. So I do stand behind Jay's case and their company. I am happy with that product. Mm-hmm. And I recommend, fish mock, stuff like that. It always scared me. And then you have to buy all like the individual ones and that, and know like that now you're calculating doses up to like a human dose and all this stuff, right? But with Jay's case, yeah, you might make an initial investment on it, but that's why I'm trying to say like it's worth it in the long run because it's going to pay off every time you need a little antibiotic dose, Sometimes you get bladder infections or this, that, the other, right? At least you have that on hand to be able to take care of that, and you have it for multiple times. So I do believe it's worth it, and I feel more comfortable using that product because when you go into Dr. Bones's book, into the Survival Medicine Handbook, when you go into there, he will tell you like, oh, you're having this, this is the antibiotic you should use, and this is the dosage, right? So it just makes it so nice and easy to use. Very efficient. Okay. So that's basically like Western medicine walkthrough of you get a wound, address that wound. We're not if you're in a survival situation, you're out camping or whatever, you're not in the normal environment that we live in where a lot of our air in our homes is all conditioned a certain way, and we're living in these super clean environments. So address it. Don't just be like, oh yeah, no big deal, I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, forageables. So many wild forageables are perfect for treating us. They're all around us as nature's medicine and God's medicine. So honey, as you mentioned earlier, really good one.
Survivor Jane has a story about honey.
Does she?
Yeah, she sliced the tip of her finger off and used honey, and it helped her heal. Huh. She loves to show her finger off.
Which finger was it? Maybe she showed it off for a different reason.
Hey, you saying I deserve that?
I'm not implying anything there. One of my favorite is oak bark astringent. So easy to make. Oak trees are across the whole United States. You might not have them in other countries that you're listening from, but we've got a ton of them here in the United States. And so I try to look for herbs and things like that are like readily available for most of the population, no matter what geographical region that you're living in. And so oak was one of those. Super easy to make. You just take some of the bark, boil it in water, and let it sit for 2 weeks. And you have an antibacterial, antimicrobial, and antifungal.
Nice.
Yeah. So I have a blog on that. I'll have it linked in our article for today. I'll have all the links to my stuff in the articles for today if you guys want to just come by and cruise around and gather info. So Nicole has a book. Hers is called The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. Highly recommend you get to know who Nicole Appelian is if you don't. And especially if you have anybody who has MS. She is a phenomenal, heroic story on self-healing and living with MS and doing that naturally and efficiently. So she's been on Alone twice, and she's just a phenomenal survivalist. So her on the go poultice, so like you're out hiking, whatever, that kind of thing. Plantain. So again, one that's super available all across the United States.
Yep.
Love it. It's broadleaf or thin leaf. So you just have to learn what grows in your area. I know on the East Coast, the broadleaf is more prevalent. And on the West Coast, the thin leaf is more prevalent. But it does the same thing, same plant. Powerful antibacterial. It speeds wound recovery. You can put that poultice on like a splinter. If you get a splinter, that kind of thing helps pull it out. And you can literally just take that plant and chew it up and put it on a sting or on a bite. Yeah.
My wife was at prepper camp, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. Got stung by a bee on the finger. Found some of that, chewed it up, made a little pulp, and put it on her finger.
Yep.
To help the sting. Yep.
Yeah. It takes away like itchiness and the burning. Yep. It's really good stuff. So get to know your plantain. You guys, if you are like, oh, Sarah, you're always about your wild forageables. And you're going to learn one thing. Plantain. Okay. Mullein is another really good one. Do you know mullein?
No, I don't think so.
It's the fuzzy, it looks like, they call it mule's ear or cowboy toilet paper. It's a fuzzy leaf. It is. I mean, it is because you could use it as toilet paper and it's really fuzzy and comfy and it's not going to give you like a rash or anything. Very fuzzy leaf. You'd probably recognize it if you saw it. It's usually in riparian areas, which is like on the edge of a human manipulated area for some reason, right? That usually mullein is there. And really great for, you can use it for as a breathing treatment for respiratory ailments. You can use it for an eye wash for like styes and stuff like that. It is. I'm not kidding. The chatting it up. So it lessens pain. That one's an analgesic. It lessens pain and it helps to, it's an astringent, so it helps to close the skin as well. So you can actually mix that with the plantain and make that into a poultice. And then the other one that she recommends is
a bad Mexican meal. Spicy foods.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's nice and fuzzy. Okay. Squirrel. And then yarrow. So there's a few types of yarrow, but you want to find the wild one. And yarrow, once you develop like the smell for it, you're going to be able to recognize it. It has like kind of a perfumey scent. It looks like a super mini fern kind of. So learn what it looks like in your area, but it does grow across most of the United States. And it is a strong antibacterial and a coagulant, so it stops bleeding. The three of those together, very, very power-packed poultice to help with any kind of wound that you might get. So you would just add those items equally, grind them until they become a paste. You can add a little bit of clean water, very sanitary, distilled water if necessary. And then you put that on the wound. You wait 1 to 2 hours and then change that out. Keep changing out the poultice. You can use the bandage to keep it there, or you can use large leaves. Like plantain is literally known as nature's Band-Aid because you can literally just take the leaf and smack it across a boo-boo, and it works as a Band-Aid. The other one she had I was interested in because it's called Usnea lichen, and it grows like an old man's beard. So it's literally lichen that looks like a beard coming down, and it has a distinctive white core. I'm pretty sure I've seen this all over the place, but it's got to be in really wet regions where it's growing. Powerful absorbent, antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. I mean, good stuff to have around for wound treating. So if you miss, you wake up one day and yesterday was your last day to prep, don't worry, because nature has provided us with a plethora of options for wound treatment. So just make sure that you have bought the books. They've got pictures, great pictures. You know what you're looking for, because it's essential. And see if you can get someone in your area to show you some of these things and what they look like, so that you can feel confident about what you're doing, what you're picking, and what you're using. But yeah, it's all around us. Nature's medicine's all around us, and we just have to make sure that we're actually, there's a lot of times when we just go, oh, it's just a boo-boo, it'll just go away, right? Well, that's the mindset we don't want to be in. We need to actually address these things. All right. So we're all wounded up. I'm the type who like, oh, I get hurt all the time, whatever, So a lot of guys are like, oh, it'll heal. I'm fine. But don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, let's get into some changing Earth news, because America is going crazy right now, and it's just a wild, wild world right now. So we're going to hold on tight. Here we go. All right, so just a side note. You know how the Earth has a wobble? I can't remember what it's called. It's called like the DeLorean wobble or something. I know that is wrong, okay? I'm a moron when it comes to this stuff, so do not quote me. But there's a wobble. Yeah, we're getting to the earthquakes in Oklahoma for sure. So there's an Earth wobble. The wobble is gone.
What?
Uh-huh. We've tracked it for thousands and thousands of years on a regular schedule, but during the last 8 years, the wobble has disappeared. So, yeah, go ahead, look it up. Look it up. Bennett's suspicious observers had it all cited out. That dude is smart as the day is long, man. I've learned so much from him. So I will always tout his show. But yeah, I was tripping. I had to go back and listen to it again and again just to make sure I was hearing the right thing. And it's crazy. So today with our sun, we have some sunspots moving out. We have other sunspots that are moving in. We've got lots of plasma filaments that we're keeping an eye on. But all in all, it's looking pretty good. Looked pretty quiet. There was a small coronal hole, but nothing huge, which is good because we have had earthquakes swarming all over the United States, some crazy locations. And yeah, I hope I'm not the next Nostradamus as far as that goes. But, it's written everywhere that we're going to see some mega quakes. Japan actually moved like 600, I don't know what the measurement was. I didn't write it down. But it actually moved January 1st from where it was. So, it's written that everything will be moved off its place. The mountains will be moved. The islands will be moved. So, we're on the move. It happened in New Zealand a few years ago, too, that it actually moved it from the space it was in. It's pretty cool stuff. Okay. I'm trying to get my chat back up because I was flying around. Okay. Cold across the United States. So on January 7th, there was 453 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.7 in the Bellany Islands region. There was an EF0 that touched down in Florida in January last Sunday. What a trip. And that touched down in Fort Lauderdale, which is, pretty popular place. Minor damage, power outages. Thankfully, nobody was injured in that event. Northern Chile went into red alert. They had a wildfire that was acting very erratically, posing threats to communities. I haven't seen much more about that one, so I'm going to assume they got that under control. There wasn't a loss of life associated with it. Greece had severe weather, wind, hail, property damage. Some schools had to close down due to the damage. Also, they had to close the ports down due to the erratic weather. And they had a tornado come through there as well, tore some roofs off some buildings and did some property damage. Indonesia had a major landslide in West Java. Two people were dead. Two people unfortunately lost their life in that incident, and 11 more were injured. 300 people displaced, with property and crop loss on a massive scale. Italy saw severe rain, snow. They had an avalanche come down that killed 2 people, one of the scenic areas that people like to go out, like snowshoeing and things like that, into. Avalanche came down, killed a couple people there. On January 8th, there was 462 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 6.7 in the Philippine Sea by Indonesia. The United States saw its first blizzard that day. Well, not its first blizzard, obviously, but like it went into full mode on the 8th, from stretching from the Texas Panhandle all the way up into Nebraska. They had school closures, people stranded on the highway, and there was a 30-car pileup on Highway 40 right by Tucumcari. So we had some mega weather coming in. That's out in New Mexico. Southern Australia, they have flood warnings in Victoria due to record rainfall. They saw 4.9 inches in Rochester there, which broke the record. I swear that every English place has a Rochester. Wherever English people settled, every state has one.
Yeah, there's one in New York.
Yep, I'm from Rochester, Michigan.
Hmm?
So, I swear. There's Rochester everywhere. Argentina, northern Argentina, there was massive flooding from rivers overflowing due to heavy rains there. 4 people were hospitalized, loss of crops and livestock there. January 9th of 24, there was 509 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.9 in the Japan Sea in Japan. Eastern central Argentina, 2 people died, 5 people injured from a 20-minute storm that absolutely ripped this city apart in just 20 minutes from the high winds. And then just north of that in Mercedes, they had intense rain. It was a record rainfall there, 11.8 inches or 300 millimeters of rain in just 24 hours. Caused streams to overflow and massive flooding there. Northern France is being crippled by snow as well. Paris and Normandy are feeling the effects of it. They had 0 degree Celsius temperatures in most of the country. 1,000 vehicles stranded in the Paris region that caused backups on the highways all over the place. So it was a big mess over there as well. In Indonesia, Mount Pinatubo erupted again. There was a 6,500-foot cloud that came off of that eruption. And then they had a tornado hit the same day. No loss of life, but not what they needed right on top of everything else that's happening. On the 10th, there was 400 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.0 in Peru. The northeastern United States got hit by a severe storm system. 5 people were killed in that event. Almost 1 million people were left without power. Since January 8th, there's been at least 23 tornadoes in between Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So I don't think I've ever seen so much winter tornado activity, which is just crazy. 15 inches of snow in the Midwest, severe wind in the Northeast. I'd like to see a statistic on that, like how normal is it for there to be that many January tornadoes? That'd be an interesting thing to look up. 1,465 flights were canceled. 3,000 plus flights were delayed because of that event. In the western part of the United States, another person died. One was injured in a Lake Tahoe avalanche up at the Palisades. It's a ski resort up there. And they had a big avalanche. One person died, unfortunately, and one person was injured. In northern Argentina, a 1-year-old died when a tree fell on the home. They had severe winds, storms going on, 87-mile-an-hour winds associated with that storm. Old growth trees down. I mean, When you see storms on a massive level that they're taking out the old growth trees, that's significant because those trees have stood the test of time for a long time. Now trees do get old, and die, but like when you see multiple old growth trees taken down, that's a significant event. In Indonesia, 20,000 homes have been flooded, as well as public facilities. 8 suspension bridges have been destroyed, and the water levels are still increasing. So they are bracing for further flooding impact from all the rains they've been getting over there. On the 11th, there was 386 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 6.4 in Afghanistan. In the west central part of Russia, Moscow saw severe storms, blizzards, traffic jams due to low visibility, and flights delayed out of Moscow. Northwestern Ecuador saw 7 hours of massive rainfall, causing flooding, material damage to homes and businesses. And I know that somebody in our chat room out there has got family there in Ecuador, so prayers going out. Hope everything's okay. In the west central part of Argentina, San Rafael had intense hailstorm, egg-size hail for a half hour. It was falling. Fruit trees, crops destroyed, property damage due to the hail and the flooding. In Indonesia and West Java, 600 more homes were lost. They had 3.2 feet of flooding going on there. In the United States, it was cleaning up after more flooding. About 500,000 people out of power in Philadelphia. There was 19 earthquakes that shook Oklahoma on the 11th. 2 of them were 4.4 magnitude quakes. That is huge. Oklahoma, we definitely keep our eye on because of the New Madrid fault. That's where a lot of the activity took place during the New Madrid earthquakes. So, and that was months long of massive earthquakes where the Mississippi ran backwards. And if we had the population now that they had with the earthquake activity that they had then, we'd be in some serious trouble. So that's why we keep our eye on that one so closely. Michigan got hit with thunder snow, as well as like Ontario and that. Thunder and lightning during a snowstorm. Very rare thing to see. It was a severe storm. So if any of my Michiganders out there listening, you guys were in that event, you got to let me know about that. That's crazy. In the United States, the Carolinas had an EF1 touchdown in Catawba. Did I say that incredibly wrong? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sounds like a bar down in Sammy Hagar had.
Right? Catawba County. Catawba. 1 person died, 2 people injured. And then Virginia coastline saw 102 mile an hour winds. And also LA County was dealing with king tides as well. So basically coastlines getting flooded and hammered. Yeah. Stay away from the coastlines right now. Okay. So yeah, more effect from the crime in Ecuador rather than the flooding that's going on. That's a little heartbreaking. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Interesting days ahead. If you guys haven't been to one of my self-defense classes yet, or you're not training yourself, oh boy, it's time to be on it. Learn how to shoot. Okay, on the 12th, there was 446 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.9 in the North Pacific Ocean. The earthquakes were literally swarming Alaska as well. We've just had some serious activity coming in, very unusual. And mainstream media was not talking about Alaska at all, but man, it was lit up all along the Aleutians there. There was even a small earthquake by Shreveport in Louisiana, a 2.8. Afghanistan had the 3rd earthquake in 24 hours. This one was a 4.4. In Punjab, India, there was a 6.0. And they named the bomb cyclone that's hitting the United States Jerry. So I don't know. I don't know what's up with naming all these storms, but I guess it's Jerry. Jerry's
this episode of Seinfeld,
right?
Joke in there somewhere.
Jerry's visiting
the bomb cyclone.
Yeah, the bomb cyclone. Yep, that's what they call it. I guess because it, when you read that on a headline, a bomb cyclone.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I gotta click on that. Gotta click.
I was going to say it sells more newspapers, but that's not even a thing anymore.
Fair enough.
Hating myself.
I got a Daily Wire in the mail the other day, like a real newspaper. It was pretty cool. I know. I was tripping. Argentina in the Mendoza province was hit with severe hail, egg size again. So they've been getting slammed in that like central area, north central area. They've been just getting hit. There was nickel-sized hail in Dallas-Fort Worth area. On the 13th, there was 392 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.2 in the South Pacific Ocean. There was a 5.9 earthquake southeastern Alaska that everybody was feeling. Another Oklahoma earthquake. Northern Queensland continues to get rain. Looking at flooding, more flooding over there. And then the northeastern part of the U.S. is just bracing for impact as the next round of storms come in. Maine in particular was looking at a ton of flooding over the past week. It came up again and again and again. On the 14th, that's today, there was 480 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.2 north of Colima in Chile. The Indian Ocean, there's a tropical cyclone Bilal that's out there making waves. It's headed towards the Reunion Islands, so they're putting warnings up for the islands out there. Southeastern Wisconsin, thousands of people without power when the bomb cyclone Jerry hit. In Colombia, there was a massive landslide that killed at least 34 people that they know of in Choco right now. 24 hours of rainfall preceded this landslide, and it's really a messy situation over there. So prayers to everybody who's dealing with that situation. They're dealing with severe cold in Japan as well, and these are in the zones that have been, ravaged by the earthquake. So there's people without shelter, without heat, trying to make it through this severe winter when they just got devastated by this earthquake on the 1st. So prayers go out to everybody there that are also dealing with that situation. The Iceland volcano. It is finally come. I mean, they were hoping it wouldn't, but it's coming in on Grindavik. There was a new fissure that erupted. They do have like a defense wall up, because that was like my question is, why don't we build a wall to like rechannel the lava? But I guess right? You could do that.
It's in your walls.
They did do that, but the fissure cracked on the other side of it. And so evacuations of the city are underway again as the lava moves in on the city. Western Australia, they got a big wildfire out there. They got lots of firefighters out there fighting it. So prayers go out to everybody fighting that wildfire in Western Australia. And today, almost every single state in the United States is under some type of weather alert. So guys, I don't really like to use the words be safe. I think it's more important to be free. But today, I think that we need to all be safe and careful when we're out driving. Don't go out into it if you don't need to. Stay warm, stay snuggy. Spend some time hugging your families instead. Yellowstone also got an earthquake storm associated with all these earthquakes that came through. So, and it saw a 3.0 there, which is, it's not unusual for Yellowstone to swarm with low-level earthquakes. It happens all the time. And when I interviewed the gentleman, Mike, oh gosh, I'm getting confused with the CEO from the company that I work for. Michael, I know his first name is. When I interviewed him on Yellowstone, he was saying, like, it's not even unusual to have like 2,000 earthquakes, right? But when they start getting above 3.0, or you start seeing like seriously above the 2000 mark, that kind of thing happening, it's time to start paying attention. I'm not saying that time has come at all. I'm just saying it is, worth taking a look at when we see earthquakes like that out there. As far as volcanoes that are actively erupting on our planet, we have 27 volcanoes actively erupting right now. That's up 2 from last week. Campi Flegrei is still on the watch list over there in Italy. It's a super volcano, so it definitely has my eyes on it a little bit more than anything else. I also watch the volcano numbers for Pele and Vesuvius to come up at the same time, just because that's one of Edgar Casey's prophecies for when it would severely affect the United States. Pele is still up on the watch list, but Vesuvius is not on the list at all. There's 17 volcanoes showing minor activity. That's exactly the same from last week. And there's 32 showing unrest. That is also exactly the same from last week. So we've added 2 volcanoes to our list this week, which I'm not surprised about given all the earthquake activity that we've been seeing. As far as wildfires in the United States, that is just not coming in right now. We are not worried about wildfires. We're worried about freezing our little patooties off right now. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go. It's some wild weather out there. Just when you see article after article after article, it's like record rainfall. You've got to like put your head up and take a listen to it to see what's going on. So, hold on tight. Get them medical supplies stocked up. That's something I really need to focus on this year. You get your medical supplies all stocked up, and then you start using them. And then before you know it, you're like, what even happened to my kit? What is even going on with that? So, yeah, it's something that I need to really focus on this year. I think that'll be the focus because I'm feeling okay about some other things. I mean, can you ever have enough, really? But I'm feeling pretty good about it. So I think, yeah, medical stuff. Keep going through the aisle, grab a little bit of gauze every time. Grab a little bit of the Silvasorb every time you go through. And just keep stocking that up. Alrighty, guys. Well, I am freezing in my office today. I know. I'm such a wuss. It's so hot here in Texas in the summer, and it is so cold right now. I'm just such a weenie. I'm from Michigan originally. Shouldn't be that way. But yeah, we're slowly closing the house down because the heater's struggling and whatnot. It's gonna be time to build a fire and snuggle in the family room. But had to do one last podcast from the office before I shut her down. So
all for the fans.
Right? I know. I was like, I'll get my blanket, I'll get my sweatshirt, I'll be good to go. So, well, I'm actually layered pretty thickly right now. All right, guys. Everybody say a prayer for Chen because he's working too hard right now. And hopefully he'll just remember that he loves the host of the podcast and he'll bring her some bacon.
He reads his emails and his chat messages and
yeah,
the pigeons flying over, dropping messages in my porch.
Yeah. Get some lines done for the show. Yeah, I know. I'm such a wow.
Basically, just call me out on the air live.
Yeah, I am. I got to get the end of 3 done, and I'm waiting on a couple peeps, and you're one of them. So, yes, I am. Alrighty, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Love to see everybody from around the globe tuning in. It's such an honor, and thank you so much. And prayers with everybody for an interesting time on our planet that we can all make it through together and just rock it out. So, until next time, remember: dream,
survive,
thrive.
Thank you for joining Sarah and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, The Walls of Freedom, Battle for the South, Dark Days in Denver, and The Endless Night at www.authorsarahfhathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series and podcast, become a supporter while you're there.